Guys, throughout the entire. Oh, God, do I have a hair? What? I had a hair. you, guys, throughout this entire day, I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm not saying I'm like looking at myself in the mirror like a weirdo, but whenever I would go to the restroom and look at myself in the mirror, or I was on like video calls for work, I would look at myself and say, I don't normally say this, but I look pretty good today. I look pretty good. And then lo and behold, I come to get ready to record this episode. And my hair craps out on me. I'm like, my hair looks like absolute crap. And I'm like, God damn it. God, I went the whole day, just for myself to look good when it doesn't matter because I want to look good for you guys. So I'm like, crap, I gotta go to clean myself up, use the comb and everything. And I couldn't I'm so bad. It's like every time I try to make my hair look good, it just ends up looking worse. It's like I'm cutting hair off and it looks awful. All that is to say, and the reason why I bring up hair is because I watched the movie I Care a Lot on Netflix, and Rosamund Pike's hair in this movie is impeccable. Her performance is great, but I think her hair does a lot of the heavy lifting. I mean, particularly in the first scene she is in, it's how clean it is. It's almost like she's a robot with hair that's like tassels just dangling from her head. It's like very clearly, it's clean and even throughout and just kind of dangles there in this kind of perfect kind of way. And she presents herself as like a perfect kind of person in her hair and her outfit and her demeanor and everything. And it's just like, it's great, fantastic. But I'm not here to talk about her hair. I'm here to talk about the movie. I Care a Lot. And guys, the show, Fuck Your Opinion. That's the show. Didn't introduce that at the top. Welcome to Fuck Your Opinion. This is a movie review show with yours truly, Sean. We also do a podcast. My co-host and myself, Yanni, who is my co-host, and myself, we do a podcast. Link in the description below. You can check it out. A lot of fun, quality content. A little funnier than just me on my lonesome because Yanni is such a prick. So we have a good banter, good dabbling. We just put out the Magic Mike episode this week, and we have some really funny ones lined up in the future. So make sure to check it out, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. But back to this movie. I care a lot. Let me tell you what I did not care a lot for is the characters in this movie. It's like I thought this movie was great and I also deeply hated it. I hated it so much, guys, because you have stellar performances, you have stellar cinematography, you have stellar music, stellar lighting. Like there's a lot that is very high quality here. The writing, the dialogue, almost everything is impeccable. The thing is, I just truly hated the characters so much. So much. I mean, I think with Rosamund Pike's character, I think I liked her for maybe half a second in the very beginning. I mean, I kind of liked her opening monologue before I really got to know her as a character. And I guess the first scene she's in, I liked her in the very beginning, and I'm like, not in a necessarily a like way, but I'm like, ooh, she's slick, she's cool, she's got it going. But when you get to learn about who she really is and what she's really about and what she's doing, which is essentially taking advantage of extremely vulnerable people for profit, it's just like it's so deeply sickening. Um, I very rarely am gonna hate a main character protagonist this much. and I guys, I could not stand her. And throughout this entire, and not that you're necessarily supposed to. I mean, I think this is kind of like a, for lack of a better terminology, but I do think this is semi the intention. Be like, well, if we can have a Walter White, despicable human being, why can't women do it too? Which I totally get, I understand, and I agree with. But at the same time, Walter White was at least quote unquote doing it for his family. Obviously, it's more nuanced and deep than that, but there was at least that little intention there where this woman is just straight up terrible, and she's really taking advantage, like I said, taking advantage of elderly people, forcing them into homes, ruining their families, stealing all their money. It's just like, it makes me so sick to my stomach, and she never does anything that is redeemable throughout the whole movie. That it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, they're so bad but I can't help but root for them. Oh man, I know I shouldn't, but they're so engaging. It's like, no, no. I mean, Rosamund Pike was a great actress, the writing was great, but at no point did I care for her. At no point. If anything, I just wanted her to die the whole time. And I can't believe I am saying this, but Peter Dinklage, who is essentially the antagonist of this film, plays a gangster type who is a human trafficker. Like, the one scene that we get that we really establish that he's a human trafficker, he's so offhand and nonchalant about it. So it's just like, this guy is a real piece of trash too. If anything, probably objectively, he's far worse than her. That being said, I was rooting for him way more than I was rooting for her. I'm like, God, please kill her. Please kill her now. Please just kill her. Yeah, so I hated her. Um, One last thing I'll say with Rosamund Pike is that her outfits were tremendous. Like her hair, she was very stylish. So A plus style, A plus acting, F minus likability. Like, she was more likable in Gone Girl than she was in this movie. Gone Girl, where she was clearly the antagonist, where she was a deranged psychopath. She was more likable in that movie because you know what? She was a crazy, crazy person, but you know what? It's not like she was only hurting Ben Affleck and Neil Patrick Harris, and like, I'm okay with that. You want to fuck with Ben Affleck? You want to get him thrown in prison? You're kind of a piece of shit, but like, I can stand that. You want to? Oh, sorry, spoilers. Gone Girl spoilers. Gone Girl. In case you're watching this movie but you didn't watch Gone Girl yet, which I don't know what's wrong with you. That's kind of weird. Anyways, much better in Gone Girl. And the Neil Patrick Harris bit of that, like, he's not the most likable character in that as well. He's not terrible. He doesn't deserve it, but like, compared to these old folks, again, it's just sickening. Um, I will say it was interesting how this movie was kind of like a battle of the sexes in a sense, because you have on the one end Rosamund Pike, her girlfriend, they're like assistant secretary, the doctor, like all female. And then the bad guys, so Peter Dinklage and his crew and his lawyer and everybody, all male. And I just thought it was interesting, that dynamic. And that is one thing I would applaud the movie, that it is going off of, like, it's shown that ladies can be just as bad as the men. Like, they're not necessarily great either. It's not like, oh man. But what's interesting is Rosamund Pike's character takes advantage of it. She takes advantage of the fact that she's female, and that, like, the judge that she manipulates, she takes advantage of it, and it's like, okay, you're gonna believe me, A, because of my demeanor, but just be because of how I present myself, and that I am a woman. It's just I feel I come off as more trusting than say sleazy lawyer in that one scene, or the son of one of the victims who comes off as a dick, but at the same time you can't help but feel so bad for him because she's just totally walking over him. And it's like he gets super angry and I don't know, it brings up a lot of questions. He's not portrayed as great, but she is just the worst. I hate her so much. Anyways, speaking of the lawyer, real quick, I want to say it's insane to me that the skeevy lawyer type, the Saul Goodman kind of character, comes across as the best of everybody, like morally. There are a lot of terrible people in this movie, and some, he somehow the criminal lawyer comes across as the most moral character. Partly because he didn't actually try to kill anybody, because that's what most of the people do. Um, but he's not. He's doing everything for his profit, but he's not necessarily taking advantage and hurting people, while the other two do. He kind of just turns a blind eye. But I'm not trying to debate morality. I am just saying, I liked him the most. Now, granted, I like these kind of like smooth talking asshole kind of characters, and he was just right up my alley. He was such a well cast and great skeevy lawyer. Loved him. I would also say, oh, one other thing I'll say about Rosamund Pike. I wish she was in more like con artist movies, because she, between this and Gone Girl, she is so great at like manipulating people and kind of being duplicitous and two faced. So I would love to see her do more of that. I just kind of wish it was more lighthearted, as opposed to like she's got to be the absolute worst kind of person. Like I'm fine with her being like horrible people, but I want to balance it out. I mean, I would love it if I wish we could go back in time and redo Ocean's 8, because I hate that movie so much for so many reasons I'm not going to get into right now. But one of the reasons is Sandra Bullock is not particularly well cast in that film. She's a good actress. I like Sandra Bullock, but she's just not well cast as the ringleader of the con artist group. And you know who would be great? Rosamund Pike. Rosamund Pike would have been so great in that role. It's just like it makes me angry thinking about how they didn't do that, how they could have done that. And they said, like, we're just going to make a bad movie instead. God. But enough about that. Like I said, Peter Dinklage, fantastic, always great. Peter Dinklage could play any role and knock it out of the park. Diane West was also really great. She was truly great. I haven't seen a whole lot of her. I honestly don't know a whole lot of her filmography, but I saw her in the newest Steven Soderbergh movie. Why am I blanking on the title right now? The one where she's on the cruise with Meryl Streep. Let Them All Talk. And she was truly delightful in that movie. And it is interesting, like, this is such a complete departure from that. Like, it's two totally different roles where in that movie she's a total sweetheart, and this one she's just like, I'll fucking kill you. And it's great. It's great. She's great. Um, I mentioned the cinematography and the montages before. It truly was such fantastic filmmaking. Like really, really solid. I also want to point out the music as well. The music was great. Like all the pieces of this movie were truly fantastic. Like really, 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 really solid. I just wish that it wasn't for such a despicable character. I wish we got something. And it's just like I was so worried by the end. And this is spoiling it, so if you don't want to know, spoilers. But I was so worried that she was going to get away with it. I'm like, I'm okay with her dying. I'm okay with both of them dying, her and Peter Dinklage. But what I'm not okay with is both of them ending up okay. I'm like, in no world am I okay with her succeeding in life. So when she gets shot at the end, as terrible as it to say, because I am 99% of the time like, listen, we should not disrespect the dead. We should not wish ill will towards other people. In real life, I'd say yeah, but this is a movie, and she's an awful, awful person. So you know what? Like, yeah, I hated her. I hated her so much. I also want to point out, lastly, I cannot believe that nobody would confirm their kills. So there's 3 instances in this movie. Now, granted, the last one is more intentional, but when Peter Dinklage says to kill Rosamund Pike and then separately her girlfriend, Rosamund Pike somehow survives the accident that they staged for her, which, well, unbelievable. Okay. Suspend disbelief. Then I'm also like, well, did no one stick around to just like, hey, should we just double check? Should we just stand by the river that her car went into and just make sure she doesn't come out? Maybe we should go by the gas station because there's only one nearby and just make sure she doesn't stroll by. Like, really, guys, just any precaution. And then afterwards, she goes and rescues her girlfriend from the apartment they're staying in. And I'm like, A, why didn't you kill her at least? At least have the guts to kill her. Because, again, how did they leave her alive? Why did they leave her alive? How do you fuck that up? And you say, oh, well, they're trying to make it an accident. Well, if they were trying to make it an accident, they blow her up. Why couldn't they like do something that was a little more significant to ensure she was dead? Because you're just gonna fucking blow her up anyways. I mean, blowing her up is sure as shit not an accident. It doesn't seem like it. So what? And then going off of that, if you're gonna blow her up, at least have someone down the street just waiting till it blows up, just to make sure that she's not still there. I mean that she leaves. Jesus Christ! Like, have these people not seen like a Zombie Land or something where it's just like one of the first rules of Zombie Land? I don't remember which one it is, but double tap. Don't just shoot the head or don't shoot the zombie ones. Just you shoot it, it's on the ground, you shoot it in the head. Or a third time. However many, just to confirm the kill. They never confirm it. Now, later on, they do that with Peter Dinklage, but she does it to Peter Dinklage, but it is intentional. So I'm like, you know what? I will slightly forgive it. I still think it's stupid because if you wanted to be done with this, you should have just killed him, but whatever. Also, it does. I have to imagine she's lying to her girlfriend in the scene before where they essentially get killed, but the Peter Dinklage and his men kill both of them, but they get out scot free and they have millions of dollars worth of diamonds. And she's like, "We can either finish this now, or we can run away, but we'll always be looking behind us, behind our backs, in case they're looking for us." And I'm like, would you really? Because they think you're dead. They are they no, they think you're dead. And based off of what I was talking about earlier and not confirming the kill, it seems like they're not really going to do a whole lot of follow up. So, are they going to be looking for you? Are they? I don't know, guys. Yeah, it is a well-made movie. I recommend watching it, but also I don't know how you can root for anybody. Maybe Diane West. It's clear that she was a bad person at some point, but she is also one of the nicer. She's one of the nicer people, even though she puts Rosamund Pike in that chokehold. Like she's not that bad. She's not that bad. Rosamund Pike deserved it. All right. Well, that's another episode of Fuck Your Opinion. Like I said, check out the podcast, link in the description below. Thank you for listening. Um, should I rate these movies? Should I give them a rating? I'd give this like a 7 out of 10, maybe a 7.5. I just hate her so much. I know I keep saying that. Signing off. Bye, guys.